If you're looking to have a successful career in tech, but maybe you don't have any of the relevant qualifications, well, I'm going to let you in on the secret on how you can get a job in tech without any certifications or degrees at all. For context, this is actually what I did. I didn't come from an academic background. I didn't go for any certifications. I didn't even apply for a single college. So I can assure you it is 100% possible and 100% doable. I'm not just going to tell you how I did it, but also how you can do it too in 2023. And for anyone interested, I've just launched a new Discord server on discord.gg/malwaretech. All abilities are welcome, so feel free to come and join. Now, first up, we've kind of got to understand what really are qualifications, because most people get this entirely wrong. A lot of people see skills and qualifications as being interchangeable, but they're 100% not. The reality is a lot of certifications and degrees are very, very high level and they're very theoretical, which means coming out of a degree, you're unlikely to have the real world experience you would need to just jump straight into a job, which is why you'll see a lot of entry level roles which ask for certs, degrees, and years of work experience on top. The reality is companies don't want to spend time and money training you. They want someone who can already do the job. So even people who do have the qualifications required are at a massive disadvantage compared to those who have work experience. So then the question is, can you get work experience without having a job? And you might be surprised by the answer, but it's actually a resounding yes, and I'm going to tell you how. Now, to kind of give you an idea, I'm going to go through my personal path. Now, you don't need to copy a single thing that I've done. I'll tell you what you can do later, but this is just kind of to show you that it is possible. Now, I started out as a self-taught programmer and malware analyst. It's pretty easy to teach yourself anything online these days. There's lots of free courses, YouTube videos, blog posts. It's really just a case of dedication. So if you're expecting like some shortcut where you get to skip the 4-year college course, unfortunately, this is not that. You have to put in the time and effort. It just doesn't have to be in college or taking some certification. Now, probably the most critical thing I did, which I actually didn't know at the time, was I started a blog and I started documenting my learning process. I would walk through new things I'm learning, challenges I came up against. I would share code I'd written. I would basically just document my entire process on my blog. And at the time, I was just doing it out of fun. I enjoyed blogging. But it turns out what I'd actually done is I'd built myself this really strong online portfolio. I'd not only been showcasing my skills, I'd also been showcasing my thought process, my learning process, how I overcome challenges. I'd basically made myself the best resume possible, all by accident. So I'm going to tell you a bit about how you can do this deliberately. The reality is a lot of people in tech are very, very technical, but they suffer when it comes to communication skills. So if you can show that not only can you do the thing, but you can effectively communicate the process, communicate the hurdles you had to overcome, maybe help other people, then that's going to make you a much, much more qualified candidate than someone who's maybe even more technical than you are. Now, surprisingly, social media actually played a really, really big role in my career. Now, before Wish Lex Luthor ran Twitter into the ground, it was pretty much the hub of my industry. You could find anything from students to Fortune 500 executives, and they were all pretty active on the platform. Now, even just chatting, sharing ideas, answering people's questions on social media is as effective at networking as going to some of the biggest business conferences there are. In this modern age, you can build an incredibly strong, incredibly diverse network without even leaving your house. Do not underestimate the power of social media. Now, I'll tell you for a fact that my best job offers actually came from Twitter, a platform which I didn't really consider to be that serious of a social media site. Platforms like LinkedIn, Mastodon, Reddit, YouTube, even TikTok are incredibly effective at not only building a network, but also increasing your visibility, which, as it happens, are the two most important things when it comes to finding a job. Now, I still remember my first few job offers. My first one was from a Fortune 100 company. It just so happened that one of the directors had been following me on Twitter. We'd engaged a little bit, he had read some of my blog posts, and he ended up reaching out to me via DM to offer me a job. Now, although I didn't take the job, I actually learned a lot about my skill set, because it turns out as a malware analyst and reverse engineer, I also make a pretty competent anti-cheat developer. They basically explained to me that game cheats are a lot like malware, so people with those reverse engineering and Windows internal skills actually make very good anti-cheat developers. So it actually turned out that my horizon was a lot broader than I thought, and I wasn't just limiting myself to antivirus jobs. Now, the third job, which is the one I ended up taking, and I still work to this day, the CEO actually reached out to me via my blog email. On my blog, I had a contact me form, and he ended up offering me the job via that. I'd actually been documenting a malware tracking system that I'd been working on, and the company was trying to make the same thing. So they basically ended up buying out my system and then hiring me in the process. In fact, I've only ever directly applied for one job, and that was with the UK government. I applied to work at GCHQ, and I kid you not, my CV was just links to my blog posts. I talked a little bit about the skills I had, gave a high-level overview, and then I linked to my blog posts as proof of my skills. Now, I could see from the access log that they not only went to the blog posts I linked to, but they actually went through quite a lot of my blog, and then they offered me the job. Now, while it might seem a little bit crazy putting blog links on your CV, I can confirm that it does work and I got offered that job. Now, really, it is just about showing your skills, and you can afford to be fairly unconventional here. So the part you've been waiting for, what can you personally do? Well, building a portfolio is absolutely invaluable, and you can be pretty creative with how you do this. You could make a YouTube channel giving walkthroughs of tech topics. You could make a GitHub and publish open source code. You could do what I did, make a blog, walk through your learning process, share your skills, or better yet, you could do all of the above. There is no limit. The more you do, the more chance you are going to have at finding a job. Now, the sooner you start, the better, because exposure actually increases over time. You can't just wait until you're good at whatever it is you want to be good at and then start blogging or then start your YouTube channel, because people aren't just going to appear. You have to build that following over time, same with social media. So the sooner you start, the better. Now, I cannot stress this enough, but do not worry about starting too soon. No one serious is going to go through your old posts and decide not to hire you because you made a non-technical post 5 years ago. Now, if you're really, really worried, you can go back and delete old posts that you feel don't currently reflect your skill set. I know that I've actually done this. I probably deleted about 30% of my blog posts since I started blogging. Now, let me tell you, if you get hung up on the I'm not good enough yet mindset, that never leaves you. You just get stuck in this loop. Just start now. Now, next up is social media. I cannot overstate the value of social media. And the reason is something I call the HR trap. You probably heard this as a kid, like if you don't go to school and you don't get good grades, and then you don't go to college and get good grades, you're not going to find a job. And the reason why is a lot of companies will scan through resumes for certain keywords. If the job requires a degree, they'll look for your degree. If it requires certifications, they'll look for your certifications. And if you don't have them, they're just going to toss your resume in the trash. They're not going to read it. They're not going to consider you. And this is the main reason why people say you need qualifications to get a job. Now, fortunately, there is a way around that whole process, and I'm actually going to teach you how to do it. Now, companies realize their hiring processes are inefficient, which is why they'll often hire external recruiters. They might have internal recruiters, probably both. So quite often team leaders and managers can actually hire people directly. And this bypasses a lot of the HR process, and it's going to bypass you getting your resume flagged for not having a degree or certifications. Now, whether you have qualifications or not, this is actually the process you're going to want to aim towards, because it's faster and you're probably going to get a better salary offer at the end of it. And social media is going to help you do this. Now, I've pretty much lost track of how many job offers I've gotten this way. I've had offers from some of the biggest tech companies, game studios, government agencies, even hedge funds. It is a lot more common than you might think it is. Now, if you have boomer relatives, you probably heard the term pounding the pavement. And what that means is basically showing up at businesses and asking for a job. And that would have worked back in those days. Today, if you do that, you're probably going to get dragged out of the lobby by security. But there are similar things you can do which is equally as effective. And social media is one of them. Now, we're absolutely not going to be reaching out to random people via DM and asking for jobs, because that will get you blocked. It's annoying. No one wants that. What you want to be doing is just be active on social media. Share your blog posts, share your Git repos, share your YouTube videos, answer questions that people ask you, answer other people's questions. You don't want to be grinding to position yourself as the world's best candidate. You just want to be a human. Talk to people as if they are people. And over time, that's going to build up your network. And when it comes time to look for a job, people are going to be willing to help you. They might know someone who's hiring. They might be hiring themselves. They might be willing to help you along the process. It's going to be a lot easier than going through that traditional application process. Now, because you're going to be making your portfolio at the same time, you're going to have a lot of content for free. Anything you do in your portfolio, you can repost to social media, you can answer questions on it, you can share problems you ran into, how you overcame them, you can share things you learned, mistakes you made. There is basically an unlimited amount of content you can get while building your portfolio. portfolio. Like, you want to be showcasing not only your projects, but your communication skills, because it is the communication skills that really sells you as a candidate. So those are my tips for getting a job without qualifications. You don't have to follow my direct path. In fact, I recommend you don't. Just try and get some inspiration for the things I did and the things I recommended, and come up with something that's tailored to your own abilities. If this video was helpful, please do like and subscribe. I've also got a Discord server if you would like to join.